And I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened. By the way, Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League, now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
Was Shedeur Sanders really given a fair shot, or was he quietly set up to fail from the very start? From the outside, it looked like an incredible opportunity. An NFL preseason debut for one of the most hyped young quarterbacks of this generation. The son of Deion Sanders, raised under pressure, shaped by scrutiny, and known for defying expectations. But the moment he stepped onto the field for the Browns, something wasn't right. And it wasn't nerves. It wasn't inexperience. It was the way the system around him seemed designed to crumble. Third-string teammates, zero chemistry, no protection, plays built for failure. His offense collapsed, and critics jumped in fast. He's not ready, they claimed. Overhyped. But some NFL analysts and even former players are now speaking out, saying what others won't. This wasn't just a bad night. This was manufactured failure.
I understand in a situation like that, when it comes to the 3s and 4s that you're playing with that aren't going to be on the squad and not going to make the team, give your quarterback a chance. Okay, you know what? You know they can't hold up that long? Let's play quick game. Let's play.
Was Shedeur set up to be the fall guy in a much bigger game? Because if these insiders are right, this isn't a football issue. It's a systemic one. And what happened during that preseason game might just reveal everything the NFL doesn't want you to see. Shedeur Sanders didn't enter the league as some entitled rookie looking for shortcuts. He came in with one of the strongest pedigrees in college football and a work ethic that silenced locker rooms. His name carried weight, but his mindset carried even more. Coaches described him as laser-focused. Teammates called him obsessed. While most rookies coasted into the offseason, Shedeur was already studying tape, fixing mechanics, and arriving hours before practice even started. So when news broke that the Cleveland Browns were giving him preseason snaps, fans were hyped. It was his chance to prove he could thrive at the next level. Social media lit up. Highlight clips resurfaced. Analysts debated how soon he'd crack the top depth chart.
Just to get Shedeur in a goddamn rhythm, but no, you come out, calling regular offensive plays.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
But there was something beneath the surface, something no one was talking about yet. It wasn't just which team had picked him. It was how he was going to be used. And more importantly, why? Because unlike most rookie debuts, this one had no safety net, no preparation, no starter reps. And within minutes of the opening drive, it became clear. This wasn't a showcase. It was an ambush. From the very first snap, the signs were there. This wasn't a game plan built to help Shedeur succeed. It was a system stacked against him, brick by brick. He wasn't behind the Browns' starting offensive line, not even the second string. Instead, they threw him out there with guys who wouldn't even make the final roster, receivers who couldn't get separation, linemen who collapsed under pressure, and zero support from coaching staff to adjust. No rhythm, no protection, no chance.
I'm going to answer this question by saying Shedeur Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why. I think he's being set up to...
And then came the play calling, like something pulled from a playbook designed for someone else entirely. Instead of quick reads or short gains to build momentum, the Browns called long developing plays that left Shedeur exposed, wide open to blitzes, surrounded by chaos, stripped of any control over the tempo. Analysts watching in real time called it out instantly. And none louder than Stephen A. Smith, who labeled the situation for exactly what it looked like. A setup. Not just a bad game plan, but an intentional move to discredit Sanders before he ever got the chance to find his footing. And still, it wasn't just what happened that night. It was how much of it had been predicted before Shedeur ever stepped on the field. When analysts started reacting to Shedeur's debut, it wasn't with the usual cold takes about rookie nerves or growing pains. No, this was something else. This was different.
Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, he was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
Stephen A. Smith didn't just critique the performance, he dismantled the game plan. In his words, Shedeur's role in that preseason opener was never about development or evaluation. It was designed as a setup. Smith went further, suggesting the Browns were pushing a narrative that Shedeur, no matter how talented or driven, didn't belong. Why? Because some people still see him as a fifth-round type QB, coasting off his last name. And he wasn't alone. Garrett Bush, a respected Cleveland sports voice, backed the narrative too, calling the move calculated. He emphasized that no matter how early Shedeur showed up, no matter how late he stayed grinding after practice, it was clear he was an afterthought in Stefanski's system. The work ethic was there. The talent was there. The opportunity wasn't. Then Skip Bayless chimed in, and he didn't hold back.
I think with all of our players, Mary Kay, there's things that we can do better, and there's some good moments out there, but that's what our job as coaches, to develop.
He called it the worst possible handling of a young quarterback, claiming nobody in that coaching staff was setting Shedeur up to grow. They were setting him up to fall, and fast. If the game looked like a setup, practice confirmed it. Shedeur wasn't just fighting for snaps. He was fighting for recognition. Teammates watched him arrive hours before anyone else. He stayed long after the field was empty. First in, last out, every day. But none of that seemed to matter. Throughout the week, Shedeur was buried with the third and fourth string units, guys who wouldn't last through final cuts. He wasn't getting meaningful reps with the starters. No time to build rhythm with the actual offense he'd be expected to lead. So when game day came and the pressure was on, they dropped him into a system he hadn't practiced in, with players he'd barely worked with. And then came the press conferences.
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened. By the way, Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League, now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
Kevin Stefanski didn't just avoid responsibility, he shifted it entirely onto Shedeur. When questioned about his lack of starting reps or why Shedeur wasn't given better protection in the pocket, the coach deflected. His answer? We're focused on developing everyone. A vague, packaged response, no accountability. Because here's the truth. You don't develop a rookie by isolating him. You don't build leaders by cutting them off from the tools they need. That's not how real coaching works. That's how you quietly bury talent. And it was working until people started paying attention. For a while, Kevin Stefanski dodged the backlash. On the surface, it was easy to write off Shedeur's struggles as typical rookie bumps. But people started connecting the dots, and the excuses stopped holding up. Because this wasn't about one bad game. It was about the pattern behind it.
You just beat the guy. And that's okay. You get paid, he gets paid. Sometimes Ocho just go.
Even seasoned analysts like Skip Bayless began piling on, calling the Browns' handling of Shedeur absolutely unacceptable. He wasn't alone. Across sports media, critics started echoing the same sentiment. This was not just incompetence. It looked like intentional sabotage. They argued that no quarterback, no matter how good, could have succeeded in the situation Stefanski placed him in. Then came Ocho Cinco, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He flat out said that not even Tom Brady would have survived behind that offensive line. That if you throw a young prospect into a broken huddle, call slow developing plays, and surround him with castoffs, you are not testing his ability. You're framing a failure. And that failure, like all things in football, would have a name attached to it, Shedeur Sanders. Meanwhile, Stefanski kept his composure publicly, but his silence on strategic choices spoke volumes.
No, I gotta watch the film, honestly. I can't say what it was. It's definitely different places where I could got my eyes in better spots and got to the progressions quicker and regardless of anything, so all those sacks, they definitely on me.
No explanation, no defense, just vague statements about rookie development and long-term growth. Generic enough to sound safe, strategic enough to avoid accountability. But at this point, almost nobody was buying it. With cameras rolling, analysts arguing, and critics circling, many expected Shedeur to clap back. Maybe drop a subtle jab. Maybe call out the coaching staff. But that's not what happened. In a moment that left even his critics stunned, Shedeur Sanders took full responsibility. Every sack, every incomplete pass, every broken play, he owned it all, and not once did he point fingers. When asked about the O-line collapse and game plan, he didn't call out coaching. He calmly said, "All those sacks, they're on me." And that wasn't just lip service. It was a calculated, mature response from a 22-year-old who understood the long game.
Win because Ocho was just a better player. Sometimes the defensive back is going to win. He wins some, you win more than you lose.
He talked about watching film, adjusting his reads, getting to his progressions faster. Growth was his only focus, even when the system was clearly failing him. No excuses, no victim mindset, just straight up accountability. In fact, the only thing more impressive than his poise under pressure was his ability to stay silent while everyone around him made noise. Most rookies would have crumbled. Shedeur walked away standing taller. But how long can he carry the weight of other people's failure? And when the person doing everything right keeps getting the worst treatment, what does that say about the system itself? Shedeur Sanders' story didn't start on that field, and it definitely doesn't end there either. What happened to him feels familiar, especially to quarterbacks who don't look, act, or come from the mold the NFL quietly expects. Every few years, a young, confident black QB shows up with talent, swagger, and a non-traditional path. And somehow, the narrative always seems to shift. He's not ready. He's too raw. He's writing his name. But what happens when the league makes sure he fails before he even has a chance? People are now pointing to a pattern. One way young quarterbacks are placed in unwinnable scenarios and judged harshly for moments they were never prepared to handle. And it's not just about race. It's about narrative control. It's about a system that protects certain players and sacrifices others. Quietly, strategically, and almost always behind the scenes. When a fifth-string rookie misfires, he's torn apart. When a legacy athlete like Shedeur shows confidence, he's cocky. If he stays quiet, he doesn't have leadership. There's always a reason to keep him out. So what does Shedeur's story really expose? That in the NFL, not all rookies are given the same rulebook. And in that difference is where real careers get buried. Shedeur Sanders faced one of the harshest spotlights a rookie quarterback can stand under. And he did it with discipline, patience, and quiet accountability. He didn't lash out. He didn't make excuses. He owned his role, took the hits, and kept working. But here's the honest question. How long is a young player supposed to carry the weight of a broken system? Because no matter how much Shedeur grows, no matter how hard he works, the fact remains he wasn't given the tools to succeed. Not on the field, not in practice, not in the politics behind the scenes. And if players like him, high IQ, high character, and relentless work ethic are being tossed aside this early, what chance does anyone else really have? This isn't just about football. This is about how potential is stripped, how talent is reshaped by bad decisions, and how narratives are weaponized against the very players fans are rooting for. Shedeur's story is just one example, and it's still being written. But now we want to hear yours. Do you think Shedeur Sanders was set up to fail? Or are people just looking for someone to blame? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation started.